Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, Elio?
Hi.
Sorry, just still setting up a few things.
Okay.
And bring them up over the head, just pulling up, so stretching up the shoulder line. Lean it to one side, so getting a stretch up the side. Other side. Just a really deep head roll, so really stretch it out in each direction. Other way. Just bring the hands together. So just loosening up the wrists. And the other way. Just flexing the hands. And turn it over. Other hand. So just some hip circles. So really stretch it out, really make sure you're bending over to get the hip flexors stretching in each direction. Other way. Legs apart. So just a gentle lunge in one direction. And other side. Come into the center. So just coming down and just gentle movements. Stopping in the center, bringing the feet around to the front. Grab your elbows, and you're just going to let gravity help you drop down. Bring your body over to one side, so stretch to one side. And to the other side. And coming up. So just gently stretch out your feet, so either rotate the ankles or place the foot backwards so that you're stretching out the top of the foot. And just gentle knee bends. Okay, so Kaylin might be joining us in a bit once he's collected enough firewood. So I thought what we'd start with today is Tankendo. I actually want to look at irimi, seitei, and the hip movement because that's where a lot of the power and it's one of the key pieces for Tankendo come from. So you just want to grab your tensioner. For this exercise, this is actually going to be more of a prop. We're not worrying about this so much. I'm just going to lower the camera slightly. So there we go. So this one, we're more focusing on the hip movement and the leg movement. So what I really want us to work on is starting in a relaxed kamae and thinking about what we're trying to achieve with irimi seitei, which is swapping the leg position. So these legs swap over. So you actually step over with the back leg to reach distance. but you need that hip rotation to be quite fast. So let's try and stop here. So moving those legs quickly. So snapping around. So this is about just getting the hips around quickly. So they're replacing each other. So if we just do it from a slow position from here, what we're doing is bringing the left foot forward and planting down. So coming from Kamae, plant it down. Make sure your knees are bent and in the right position. Make sure this arm is thinking about downwards movement, so pulling down. And this hand, you're thinking about it coming back to the right hip as fast as possible. So normally when you're in irimi seitei, you've controlled their weapon, for example, on the first one. So their weapon is underneath you. What we're doing here is swap, grab. So those two movements need to come very quickly, but you don't want to be moving this hand forward of your body or forward of that hip. You want it to be coming with the hip so that this is still protected by you covering their weapon. So rather than going reach and step, we need to focus on swapping when these two are basically crossing points anyway. So the hip and the backhand have to have pretty much reached as close as they can go before you draw that one back. So we're just going to start off slowly in your own time. I just want you to come into Kamae. Make sure your feet are in the correct position. Make sure your knees are bent. And just slowly bring the left foot and left hand through. And when they're pretty much in line with the tsuba, swap them down. Okay? So just getting used to that momentum, that movement. Bring it over. And think about dropping the weight, your hips and your balance here, so that you're pulling down, you're breaking their balance. So when you're fairly confident that you've got the timing down so that your hand is not, this hand is not coming up until it's basically reached tsuba or your feet have pretty much reached together. Once you've got that, start speeding it up slightly so that you're getting really strong drawing back. Or even, actually, stay in one position, keep your knees where they are. Have your left foot in front. So we're not in, that's Kamae. I want you to turn around so it's actually your left foot in front. And I just want you to practice going. So coming up, both hands in front of you, drawing that right hand back as you rotate the hip down. So the more you draw back, the stronger the zanshin on that, the more powerful it should feel back here. That should be coming back really sharply. And you can think about now having the left hand on the hip, right hand in front, swap, swap. And this should allow you to focus on that rotation, on getting that nice and strong, getting that drop at the end as well. Yeah. Just do a few more, I just want to watch. Good. All right.
That is a good exercise. It goes quite quickly. You feel it snap, or
And that's the thing. The more your muscle memory gets used to that snap, the more natural it becomes to kind of. It's almost like you're corkscrewing. So you're going from the knees, drawing up, rotating around to the hip. You do want to keep the knees soft. You don't want to snap too tightly because you can put strain on your knees as well. Yeah. But this is more about just feeling that hip go from here and whip around. and just lose that little bit of height so that when you do the irimi seitei, because you've grabbed their elbow, you're breaking their balance, their center of gravity as well. So now we're going to try that as the whole movement. So coming from kamae, and again, just speeding it up as you feel more comfortable. Hey, Kaylin. So if you want, you can try it with a little bit of a step in. If you don't have space, that's fine, just continue with the basic one. But what you can do is kind of start going and moving it in a little bit. So what happens is you're moving more into their space, and that's going to help you drive their balance out a little bit too.
Right.
And bringing that back foot with you too. Just a couple more. Okay. So that's the most basic irimi seitei, which is when they've basically made an attack. So they say they're coming forward, you've blocked over the top with your tsuba, and so their elbow is in nice, easy reach. The second irimi seitei is coming from the other side. So this is where we're pretty much blocking with a rotation here. So they're on this side. And so we have a very different movement. The hips are still doing the same thing. So as our left hand and left foot come pretty much in a line here, you need to be thinking about this arm coming up and under, or rather more to here. So the idea is that their arm is locked here between your elbow, your arm, and your body. So you need to be thinking about coming up underneath and then locking to your chest. So up and into your chest. Yeah. But it's the same kamae movement. So coming from kamae, and this still has to draw back. Yeah. So just a couple more. Good. Good. So same hip movement. Excuse me. That doesn't change at all. It's still the same snap. It's still the same little bit of a drop. But all that's happening is this left hand, instead of coming straight forward, is now coming underneath and around to hold them in there. So the idea is that their elbow should basically be behind your palm, and that's what locks them down. Then they've got their arm here, their tanshinai here, and you're just covering over the top. But the movement is basically the same. For the last irimi seitei, a little bit different. So we're basically blocked up here. But this left hand, this left foot, it's still bring it in and drop. So up. And it's just about getting that rotation around as quickly as possible. Good. Nice, Kaylin. Good. Very nice, Elio. Good. Good, Michael. All right. So that hip movement's really easy to work on. It doesn't really change between the 3 irimi seitei. It's just remembering that back hip has to snap around. And if you do naginata, that's a little bit more common. Obviously, kendo doesn't have that. But even just as I said, standing in kumai, knees bent, whip that hip back. So our kumai has us kind of 45 degrees, pretty much over the knees. So just practicing coming down and around with that little bit of a snap on that hip. So think about dropping the weight. Any questions about those seitei at all? No? No? All good? All right. So what I might do is just a little bit ichi kyoushu, which we all kind of know by now. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit. So 5 attacks. Sorry, a little bit wobbly there. So do, men, nodo, kote, and tsukinagashi. The only one that should be at the end is tsukinagashi. You can do that as nodo tsukinagashi or do tsukinagashi. And I don't mind the order of the other 4. I just want to make sure you get 5 strikes in and that you're targeting all the main areas. So as long as there's 1 men strike, 1 nodo, 1 do, 1 kote, and finish up with tsukinagashi, I don't mind the order of the first 4. So ichi kyoushu, in your own time, go for 6 repetitions, and you can alter the order if you just want to see how well they work as a combination. If you don't have space, just do it on the spot. Otherwise, you can move forward with it. Okay? Off you go. Good. Just watch that elbow. Make sure that when you do a dot strike or a ski strike, that's locked. So make sure it's not bent. We have a locked elbow on ski strikes. Okay? Just seeing a few bends through there. Just 1 more set. Good. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Okay. So what we'll do is rather than go onto kata, I'm going to go put us onto mokuju because I want to do some basics with mokuju for a while. So I pop this to the side. Okay. So what I want to try today is actually working through the Jukendo Kata, but not as kata. I want us to look at the actual attacks you make as shikata and how you'd apply the energy and the passion to them if you were doing shiai. So when we're doing it in this kata, we're probably a little bit more balanced, a little bit more worried about technique, a little bit more aware of our partner. In this one, what we're doing is just going over the actual techniques that are happening and trying to make them sharp and snappy and clean, but still have really good zanshin. So the first one is basic omote. What I want you to think about is that if you are partnered with someone, jostling for position, holding center, they open up slightly. So what they've done is maybe you've pushed them across or they've misinterpreted your actions. So they've opened up a little bit and opened up their door for you, their kata. So I want you to be looking for that opportunity. So when you see in your mind's eye, they've opened up, going for a mote, so really strong. So if I'm just going here and see them, yeah. So I want you to treat it more as a shiai attack rather than a kata attack. So moving around, just feeling your balance. And when you mentally see them open just that little bit, you feel that pressure lift, going for a mote, okay? So just 5 attacks, looking for that imaginary opponent, really feeling it, strong zanshin. So in your own time. Good. Good. Nice. Good. Alrighty. Okay. So we're going to look at nihome. So this is where you're going for ura. So basically what's happened is you've been pressuring each other. They've pushed you over to your left and you're taking advantage of that movement. So they've pushed you off center. So maybe you're trying to both hold for center, a little bit of a power struggle. They pushed you and you take that opportunity for ura. So again, I want you to visualize that pressure, that opportunity to go for ura. If you have space, after you've done the strike, you can pull back with zanshin. So if it's a case of, if you do have room, but only if you have room. If you don't, just do the basic strike and then just a strong zanshin in a standing position. So about 5 of those again. So they pushed you just to your left and you're taking that opportunity to come underneath to hit ura. Okay? So if I'm here, they pushed my mokuju over towards my front arm. Good. Yeah. Nice front hand there, Michael. I could see you had it nice and relaxed before the strikes. That was really good to see. So good.
I have to think about it though.
So Elliot, did you have a question there or? No? Okay. That's all right.
Sorry, I just came close to the screen to see better. Okay?
Oh, that's okay. I just wasn't sure if you had a question.
I mute because of the traffic. And
that's okay.
Don't bother you. With
no. I thought I saw your hand up, so I thought you had a question. That was all.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at number 3. So this is basically shita. So what's happened here is you've made a feint. So you're jostling. You've gone, okay, I'm going to feint towards their nodo. and they'll react, at which point that'll open them up underneath. So again, it's that case of, okay, jostle, 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 yeah, gone for Nodo, they've deflected, come underneath for Shita. So you're aiming for their front, so the Omote, and then for Shita, sorry, Nodo, then Shita. So you need to actually think about what their body is, whatever body shape they've got. So here, Nodo straight ahead of me, Shita is down and a little bit on my right. So visualize the body, visualize where you're attacking. So you fainted towards Nodo, they've deflected, Shita. So again, just see it in your mind's eye. 5. Good. Nice. Yeah, that's okay. So that's very much in line with the exercises where we've done a few feints before this strike. So it's keeping the movement going. Just because your first opportunity was blocked doesn't mean you shouldn't go straight for the next one. So it's just keeping the energy up and not really pausing in between when you've been deflected. So number 4, we're basically getting the reverse. So we've aimed low towards their shita. They've deflected. We pull back for nodo. So in this instance, jostling, jostling. I've gone down for shita. They've deflected, which has pushed me down. Pull back, nodo. So if I'm doing this more as the shiai version, so this time you're going for shita, and then nodo. So try and make them two quick, clean attacks. Don't think about them so much as a feint and an attack, but rather 2 attacks. It's just the first one was deflected. So shita, nodo. So 5 of those. Good. Good. So just wait for the other 2. That's all good. Okay. So that's the first 4 basic attacks. So they're your kata, but this is just thinking about them in how you would actually use them if you're in shiai. So looking for those opportunities, taking them when they come. Obviously, it's not the same as having a partner to be able to provide those openings, but if you can visualize it, you can start seeing those openings, and it becomes much more natural when you are up against a partner. So I want to take a quick break. So if you need to grab a drink, go ahead and do that. And then if anyone's got any particular exercise or techniques they want to work on, now's the time to let me know. Otherwise, I will devise the next exercise. Yeah, grab a drink if you need to. Right there, Michael?
I was just reading something Kaylin had sent through.
Okay, so if no one's got any particular techniques, what we'll do is we'll continue this exercise with the last 4 Jukendo Kata. So this is where we are doing Migi no Harai. So in this instance, what's happened is we're jostling, trying to control center. They've seen an opening, and so we've relaxed. They've seen an opening and come for our omote, and that's when we respond. So again, it's a case of imagine. So you've relaxed a little bit, you've opened this up a little bit so they can see a valid target. Relax, they've opened. So this is about doing a slightly snappier harai ski. So just a little slower. So I've opened up, so for whatever reason, my seme has opened up so that this is now a target. They've come in for an omote strike. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be as big as it is in kihon or in kata. This is more about getting that sharp strike, that sharp harai and movement. So with these ones, try and make them flow again. Imagine again, you can see that mokuju coming in for your heart. Harai, quick snappy harai, really sharp. You want that strong, so they're cleared out of the way. And then coming in for dortsuki. So again, 5 of those. Very nice, Kaylin. Very nice. Good. Okay, so the harder thing with harai is making sure that you're not overdoing it. Obviously, if you don't control it well enough with the tanuch, you're going to end up down here, which takes longer for you to come back on center. So you really need to think about that tanuch with the front hand, stopping it at that point. So really loose and sharp. That'll help stop it when it's made contact. It'll keep it from going down further. And so it means that you're closer to being on their center to begin with. So I don't have to make a big distance. If I'd let it go further, for example, so now I've got to bring it all the way from down here up for door. So even just practicing here and going, okay, tanuch, tanuch, tanuch. So you're aiming for pretty much when it comes back to the kamae position to really lock that hand in place. So come up to your shoulder, tanuch. And because my hand is loose to begin with, it's almost as if I'm throwing it up against the thumb and then letting it drop back into the fingers. Yeah. And it's basically that control will keep it from going down too far, so you don't have to bring it back up as far to come back to center. So looking at number 6, which is hidari no haraitsuki. So this is coming from the other side. So in this particular instance, they've come for ura. So again, for whatever reason, we've opened up ura. They're coming in. Sharp hidari no harai. So you really need to make this a snappy movement. So from here, snap it in to sort of the sternum for you to go harai. So. Good. The hardest part with this one, so yame. Okay. The hardest part with that particular harai is not turning into shita no harai, because it's really easy to want to do that. We get excitable, and so the next thing you know, what we're doing is coming up here, or coming up here, which is a shita move. So you need to be thinking more sternum. So bringing it into your center, like your wrist, is coming from here into your center here. So bring it forward of your body a little bit more. Normally when they do it or they teach you, it'll be a little bit further out from the body, but this is good for getting used to the placement in terms of alignment. So when it comes, so I'm trying to find a good angle for this here. When it comes to later on, so this is a basic, when you bring it into sort of your center. Later on, it'll be a bit more out from the body. So, but this is still in line with my spine. So you can bring it out further from your body. So here, sorry, do this angle is a bit bigger there. It's more like that, but again, my wrist is aligned with the spine. So, and don't do what I do, which is drop the kensen. Try and keep it high. So you don't want it to drop down here. That's going too low. It's a little bit more horizontal because their line is pretty much coming for your center. So.
That was interesting. You can feel that drive that you get from that rear hand into that position, and it's quite strong. Almost as like, what are we doing in Naginata? We're doing fully like that, but you can feel that hand does most of the work. This one doesn't do much at all. It just
that's the fulcrum.
Fulcrum for it, or something.
Yeah, and you're right. It's what we do in Naginata when we do harais or otoshis or maki-otoshi kind of style. So it's remembering where the power comes from, and it's always going to be the backhand. So for Jukendo, it's always going to be your right hand. Left hand is always going to be for Tunuch, which is for control and guidance. So really, as I said, if you're thinking about just bringing it here, and you can see from here, there's a little bit of a gap between my body and my wrist. One of the reasons I'm telling you to bring it into here is that gives you the line, because you want it in line more with your spine. So it's bringing it forward of the hip, but really where you want it to end up is just outside of the body, but in line with the spine still. So it's just coming up. And the more horizontal you can keep it, the better the line will be. Otherwise, you'll find you're going down too low and you'll probably miss the mokuju entirely. So I'm just going to try and show you as slowly as I can. It's a bit hard in this one. So from here, so it's not dropping a great deal. All I'm making sure of is that this is rotating. So the top of the barrel is down. But all that's happening is this is coming forward towards my center and a little bit out from the body. So it's maybe that far away from my center. So that way. So it's not a big gap, and it will vary depending on your body size, your arm size, etc. So just bring it up, but in line with the spine, and try and keep it relatively horizontal. So if you need to slow it down, remember what you're trying to achieve. Yeah. So yeah, Hidari no harai is difficult because it's really easy to want to turn it into shita no harai. And it's also why shita no harai becomes difficult because we're treating it like hidari no harai, when in fact we're actually trying to hit from the other side. So if we look at shita no harai now, which is for number 7, in this particular instance, they've come in here. So we have to think about them making an attack to our lower ribs. And that's what requires us to do such a big rotation, because the line is down here. It's lower than Shudan for us, and we're already up here. So we need to think about a bigger rotation coming in again. I tend to bring this wrist more in line with the spine or the sternum, because that gives me a bit more reach. I can get closer to their kote. But this is mostly just about this backhand rotating up. So this one comes up a lot higher. So again, you're starting open, so they've come in here for shita. And you need to make sure this rotates so the top of the barrel is coming fully around. So I was trying to show you, so if their mokuju is here, what I want to do is turn, so here's the top of the barrel, rotate, and I'm hitting with the top, with the underside of the barrel. So, but it's coming from your left side. And then you can go for the ski. So. Good, nice, Michael. Good position, Elio, nice. Yeah, it's nice. Very nice, Kaylin, good. All right. So let's come back. That's all right. Don't feel you have to rush. I'll just wait till you're all done. Okay, so number 8. So this is the final one. This is where we're doing makiotoshi. And this one isn't going to come up so often. I haven't seen many people go for nodo in shiai because it's a really hard target to get, let's be honest. But we'll practice it anyway. So we need to think about someone has come from our nodo. So for whatever reason, we've been a little bit open. They've come here. So the things to remember with this particular position is that these arms are pretty much staying where they are while your body goes back. So you always step back to receive that nodo. So my arms are going, so say I'm here in Shudan, for example, I'm just a little bit open. They'll come up. You want both elbows to straighten out and lock, so they're locked and in front of the body. So from Shudan, up. And they're kind of in line with my nodo. The angle on the camera is a bit weird, sorry, because it's coming from underneath, but you're blocking your nodo. You're not going up really high. You don't want to go too low. You're blocking here. So coming from Shudan, even if you don't have the mokuju in hand, think about taking one step back and bringing your arms out and locking them straight. But keeping them mostly in that same alignment. So from here, if you think about being in kamae, stretch both arms and just step back from them as they come up. So out, out. So not too high, remember blocking nodo. So Kaylin, that's a bit high. Yep, good. So always remember, block your nodo. So once you've got that, now you need to think about coming back for the makiotoshi. So if I'm here and I've opened up, they've come for nodo, you notice my angle isn't steep. It's not out here. It's not flat. It's a little bit more protective than that. From here, this right hand, your back hand is just going to rotate down back to kamae. Your front hand, your left hand, is going to try and stay as close to center as possible. So you're spiraling your kensen in towards their door, or nodo, whichever one you end up going for. So you want to make sure that this, from here, doesn't move too much. So you don't want it going big circle. Smallest curve down to the target point as possible. Just as a pointer, the footwork for this one's really important. You have to step back to receive, and you have to step in to do the makiotoshi. It's the only way you maintain the connection and get enough leverage. So when you're here, you must step back to receive, and you must step in to do the maki. Otherwise, you won't get the leverage. Good. Nice. Good, Kaylin. Yeah, nice, good. So maki is one that obviously it's much easier when you've got someone to practice it with, but if you have the step back and the step forward, you should actually feel some of that power generating, even if you don't have anything to spiral against. But you do need to have the step back and the step in to create a good maki. Otherwise, the positions are going to be really bad. The idea is that when you're receiving the maki, you're aiming for it to be here in that top third of the mokuju for connection. So when I step back here, they should only be in the top third. They shouldn't be further down, because this is the biggest point for rotation. So up here around 20, 25 centimeters down, so that when you're stepping in, you're actually bringing it further down the mokuju to create your leverage. So, and that's why the step back, the step in, amongst other reasons, I'm sure. All right. So basically what you've just done there is all 8 jutai jukata, but looking at them in terms of, I guess, shia, or where the opportunities are. And it's a really good habit to get into, just practicing those little elements, and it'll make it so much easier for the kata as well, because you'll see that open, go, I know what I'm supposed to go for. Yeah, did anyone have any questions about any of those at all?
Just with the end there, so what was happening for me was I was there to take the attack, and then as I spiraled down and in, I'm ending up much higher than the yourself. So I think it needs
you're generally wanting to bring it back to the hip. So a bit like my position. And I think I'm not entirely sure of the reason behind that, but I think because you're stepping in, it should almost naturally come back to there. If you push it out too much, I'm not entirely sure what would happen, but generally what you're trying to do is rotate back to the hip. So if I pop this down,
That's all right.
I'm up here. As I step in, I'm just bringing it back to my hip. So up. So the elbow will bend in as you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's happening for you, Michael, too, is you're taking an additional step afterwards. So here, one step. So stopping on that forward. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
It might have just been your back foot coming behind you. But yeah, so that hand comes back to that as you move forward.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the reason we like it here is because we're used to doing a hustle, to be honest. I like going there, and that's not the right spot. Elio?
Sorry, the right elbow stay really straight or bend a little?
So when you come up here, straight. So both of these are locked straight elbows. And that's to help you cushion the attack. Yep, straight, locked. Yeah. So they're locked and straight. And then when you come down, this one shouldn't actually change. It'll change a little bit. But from here, both arms are fully extended. So fully locked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the shoulders will act more as the absorber. So when even if they're coming down heavy, the shoulders will take the rotation. If you do it here in the elbows, you're more inclined to end up dropping too hard if they're, for whatever reason, really pushing down on it. So lock those, and the shoulders will take some of the rotation and absorption if you need it.
Okay.
But also, I think when you do it here, if you try and do mucky with a bent elbow, it's a lot weaker. I don't know if you've got anyone at home who can hold a broom handle for you just to have on there. But if you try and do it like that, you're not going to get as strong a rotation around. Whereas here, if you really feel all the power from having those two arms straight, it'll feel quite different to having two bent ones. That'll feel really soft. So even if you try that now, just without the mokujo even, come up here with two bent or soft elbows. You can't generate quite as much zanshin either, and then have two locked. So, as I said, it makes a lot more sense when you've got a partner for this one. You'll feel the difference. But yeah, this is a much more powerful position to start with. That weakens the drive of it a bit as well. And then what will probably happen is you end up over rotating, and that is going to take you off center and weaken your leverage. So, yeah.
But the mokujo don't stay parallel to our body. Don't stay straight, parallel.
No. So you're protecting yourself. So
okay.
If you're my partner directly here, so if we're mokuju to mokuju, what I do when I step back is I actually angle it out that way.
Okay.
So you can see it's protecting my center, and that'll mean if you're coming in straight, you'll come in around here. And that's where I get my rotation. So when you step back, think about this hand. It only comes out a little bit. So from here, it just drives up slightly in front. The back hand comes right out. But that's just about the angles. So if I'm here, both arms are still straight, but this arm angles out that way more. This one stays closer to center, but you want to have that protection of them between you.
I understand now. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, but again, it makes so much more sense when you've got someone doing nodo at you, and it feels really nice when you get that maki off it.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. All right, so we're pretty much at time there. Did anyone have any other questions on any of that at all?
No, but it'll be good to practice.
Yeah. As I said, you just have to find someone willing in your house to hold a broom at you. and to have you, do mucky at them a lot. It's very hard to set up a dummy to do that, unfortunately. But so they're all fairly good exercises looking at basic technique. So the irimi seitei, as I said, you can just be standing there and go drop, really drop that hip, or thinking about that sweep underneath the arm. So just small things will make a big difference. And the ones you don't actually need to have the weapons on you to practice. And it'll just get your muscle memory working on them too. So, yeah. Alrighty.
Okay.
Well, if there's no more questions, I might actually end the session now and let you do your own warm downs. So as I said in the chat, I'm going to take the next week off. I just need a little bit of mental head clearing space. Come back enthusiastic. Come up with some new ideas for you all. But yeah, have a go at some of those things. I said, if you can find a willing participant to do Makyo Toshi with, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, hit me up on the chat if there's anything you want to talk about. I'll try and get this video up there tomorrow. And yeah, if you have any ideas for the next couple of weeks when you come back, throw them at me. And we'll see how we go.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you, Ellen, and have a good one.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Okay, Lauren. See ya.